So I want to start today with a little story. Traveling around the world gives you some experiences and some insights, and this experience is how I got to this topic today. We were traveling from the city of Le Mans, France, to Paris, and we're getting into traffic. Jen had this spot we wanted to see, and as we're weaving through traffic trying to get this, we come into this roundabout of all roundabouts. It's the Arc de Triomphe. You've seen this thing, but I've never known about driving it. There are no lines on this massive roundabout. It's a giant free-for-all. Everybody's being aggressive, trying to jam them into space. And I'm in a rental car, and I didn't purchase the extra insurance. So I'm a little stressed because I'm like, oh, I don't want to ding this thing up. But it's already got some dings. Somebody has had some fun with this thing before. So I'm kind of a little nervous, and Jen and Zach are trying to help me navigate, and I'm trying to steer, and we get through, and I say to them, I say, well, I think this is the exit I want to take, and somebody in the car who will remain nameless, but he said, no, it's the next one, Dad, and I believed him, and he was wrong, and so around the roundabout of HE double hockey sticks we go again. And I'm going, wow, this is really intense. And it felt like a massive victory to escape it unscathed. And I know, probably millions of Frenchmen do it every day, but I had to summon all of my aggressive American driving techniques and survival tactics that I used to leaving, baseball games when 60,000 people are leaving and you're all jockeying to get out of the parking lot. It's like, I haven't had to be this aggressive in a long, long time. Whew. By the time we get to where we were going, it was, heart was still racing, but I felt accomplished. Well, the next day we go to the Eiffel Tower. And, you go up to the very top of this thing and you're looking around and, well, there is the Arc de Triomphe. And it's like, oh, how peaceful that looks from over here. Oh, how beautiful that looks from over here. Not right there. No, I know better. And it was just one of those eye-opening things about perspective, of how as you zoom in on something or zoom away, that perspective changes. The writings tell us that Swedenborg's writing that about microscopes. And hey, well, if you have a butterfly or a bee or something that's small, and you put it under a microscope, wow, your perspective changes on it. And that if you could see these inanimate objects in the eyes of an angel, your perspective on that object would completely change. He says it's like how the interiors that you would see are even more wonderful if you could see these inanimate objects beyond even what the microscope can give you. So, I'm thinking about these kind of perspectives of things, and of course, when you go on a trip, there's photos, right? And, you go through your life and you go in the mirror and you see yourself straight on, but you come back from a trip and you see photos that other people took of you, and well, it's from over here and over there, and it's, all these different perspectives, and suddenly you say, well, gee, do I really look like that? Oh, wow, oh, okay, oh, well, maybe I need to watch my posture a little bit more. Maybe I need to eat a few less croissants, perspective changes when somebody else is taking the photos. For better or for worse, I've done enough video work in the last few years that I'm adjusted to the fact that I know I don't look just like I do in the mirror. And I've had my wife tell me enough over the years that I sound like my father to understand that, I don't even sound the way I think that I do. So it's weird, right? But all of this is feeding into the idea of, well, okay, we think we look a certain way and whatnot, but it's really about, well, how do the angels see us? Because that's actually what really matters. We can spend a lot of time doing our hair, getting the right clothes, working out, doing whatever it is to, appear nice in front of each other. But how do the angels see us? And so that's where I was going, right from the zooming in and out. And in Sweden, we're talking about if you look on inanimate objects differently. Well, guess what? It's true about us too, right? You know, if you look at us from different perspectives, if you look at us from the way the angels see us, you'll look different once again. And that can be a challenging thing, I think. There's a teaching in Heaven and Hell, the number is 131. I've put it in your order of service and talks a bit about this. It says, since heaven's light is divine wisdom, people are recognized in heaven's light for what they really are. Everyone's inner nature shines forth from the face just as it is, with nothing whatever concealed. Further, the more internally minded angels love to have everything within them visible because they don't intend anything but what is good. It's different for people who are below heaven. I like that phrase. It's like politically correct, below heaven. They're not in hell, maybe. They're below heaven and do not intend what is good. They are profoundly afraid of being seen in heaven's light. Remarkably, people in hell look human to each other, but in heaven's light they look like monsters, with frightful faces and bodies in the exact form of their evil. Elsewhere, Swedenborg writes how devils see each other as not monsters is one of the Lord's greatest mercies he does to the people of hell, allowing them to not see themselves as they really are. We have a similar appearance as to our spirits when angels look at us. If we are good, we look like handsome individuals in accord with our goodness. If we are evil, we look like monsters, misshapen in accord with our evil. We can see from this that everything is clear in heaven's light. It is clear because heaven's light is divine truth. Okay. So there's some perspective there, right? We can look nice here, but how do we look to the angels? How do we look in heaven's light? How do we actually look, right? This is what we should be thinking about and striving for, and really having the more concern about that than how we care about our physical appearance, right? It's a different perspective. It's a different perspective. And, I don't know if I've told this story in church before, but I don't know, probably close to 20 years ago, I had an experience like this where my mom had passed away, and I was having these series of dreams and visions after she passed. And throughout this cycle, I was struggling with the idea that, I had a good relationship with my mom. She thought I was a nice person, but I kind of also knew the bad parts that were inside of me that, I didn't reveal publicly. And so there was this shame that I was experiencing of, can mom now see me as I really am? And right, yeah, I know, it's not pleasant. So this is part of the path that leads me towards, okay, maybe I should read the Word every day, chapter a day. I settled on this routine. And in all of this, I have this moment where it's a dream that I have. And the dream takes place in the kitchen that the household that I grew up in, the kitchen that I was in, and I could see, my dad was over there at the stove, and my brother and sister were in the background. But I was there, and I had this dark cloud all around me, and it was raining and just kind of unpleasant. Now, unlike this passage here from Heaven and Hell, I don't recall seeing myself looking misshapen or ugly, so thank goodness for that. But I do feel like there was definitely darkness around. And then the scene switches, and it's all cleared up and gone. And what I understood in this dream was that it was kind of a before and after, and it was my mother saying to me, you look good now. Saying, this is where you were, and now that's all lifted and gone. Good for you. You're getting somewhere. So, I kind of buy into this whole, the angels see things differently. And would be nice if we could see ourselves, maybe, as the angels do once in a while. Because it would give us kind of that compass that, are we headed in the right direction? Are we not? And I think that would be useful to us. And I feel like I got a glimpse of that, and kind of what keeps me on track. Okay, well, remember what can happen if you don't do that. Remember what can happen. You don't want the dark cloud. You don't want any of that anymore. And it manifests down to every little part of our life, right? Every little decision is a window into these things. There's a statement in the Arcana, it's in here, 4930. It says, if a person should see the quality of a single thing as it appears before the angels, he would be amazed and would confess he would never have believed it, and that in comparison he had known scarcely anything. So there's so much that we can see in the light of heaven that we wouldn't see in the light of world, whether it be animals and inanimate objects, or ourselves, or even down to the very thoughts that we have. It's all going to be different. The writings certainly are emphasizing more of the thoughts and ideas side of things than the inanimate object. But it's still, I think it's very profound to realize that everything around looks different in the sight of angels. They're not just seeing a light bulb and carpets and guitars and stuff. They're seeing something much more. And they see it down to every little thought and idea, things that you speak. It's something so much more. The Arcana 803 says that the quality of a spirit can be known in the other life from one single idea of their thought. Indeed, angels have from the Lord the power of knowing at once, when they but look upon anyone, what their character is. It's therefore evident that every single idea and every single affection of a person is an image of him and likeness of him. All right, so there's not just good deeds that look nice to angels. It's every little thought's going to give you away. Right? Everything you do is a picture of your deeper self. I have some experience with this too. I find that living in this country with an American accent, I don't have to say very much, and people know who I am. Oh, hi, can you help me find it? Oh, you know this already. I didn't grow up here. Can you tell me? Oh, yes. They pick up the accent very quickly, and they get all sorts of ideas of what an American is. Of course, I have a whole arsenal of guns in my closet at home, but that's what they think, and yet. When the angels hear me speak, they hear something totally different. They hear everything about me, right? It gives you pause to think about, well, what am I thinking about, right? Right? And it's not even just the things that we speak, right? It's the way we dress, right? When we dress up nice, we're trying to put forth an image. Well, how do angels see our clothes? Well, the Word teaches us that clothes are garments or are truths, right? So if you want to look nice before angels, you have to have good deeds. You have to speak well. You also have to have the truths because they're your garments. And we see this in Revelation chapter 16. Here's an interesting little verse about that. Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way of the kings from the east might be prepared. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouths of the dragon. Now out of the mouth of the dragon, the mouth of the beast, and the mouth of the false prophet. So is this another instance of, it says unclean spirits like frogs. Is that a person that's just jumping like a frog, or is it a spirit that's looking like a frog? It's not clear the way it's written to me, but it's just another example of how things look to angels. A dirty spirit looking like a frog jumping out of the mouth, right? For they are spirits of demons performing signs, which go out to the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. And here's the money line I wanted to include here. Behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Who is they? Who is they? The angels, right? The angels. Oh, okay. So you've got to have what? Keep your garments. Why, keep your truths. Keep the teachings clean. Keep them with you, lest your nakedness be exposed, lest your shame be exposed. Now, of course, the opposite is also true, right? You can keep your garments, right? You can keep the truth. You can be the person who's seeking the right things, and you will walk, I hate to say pridefully before angels, but you will walk with confidence before the angels. Right? So you can have beautiful teachings that clothe you, and then you can have of course, the beautiful deeds, right? There's beauty and wonder behind beautiful deeds. Doctrine of Charity says that before the angels, he himself appears in his image, which I have seen 1,000 times. What is that image? The image of the deeds that you are doing. So if you want to appear well before angels, well, you have to have the truth, and you have to do nice things and also speak nice things. See, it's a lot of things you got to cover there, right? So it can be worthwhile for us to take some time to paint a bit of a picture about the thoughts, particularly the bad ones, that can motivate us, right? We need to stop and think about what is going on in our minds when we do things. Secrets of Heaven 2363 talks a bit about this. It says, in order to obtain a clear idea of the nature of life, of the love of self and of the world, or what is the same, life of pride, avarice, envy, hatred, revenge, unmercifulness, adultery, let any person of talent, I like that, if you have any talent, make for himself an impersonation of it, right? Draw a picture of avarice is kind of what it's saying. And then he will see, in proportion to the energy of his description or picture, how horrible these evils are, and that they are devilish forms in which there is nothing human. Forms as these, all those become after death, who perceive the delight of their life in such evils. On the other hand, let the same person delineate for himself an impersonation of love and charity, or let him express it before his eyes under some form. And then in proportion to his power of description or portrayal, he will see that form is angelic, full of bliss and beauty, and pervaded within what is heavenly and divine. Think about the stuff you're engaging in and what would it look like. That's what it's saying. Because it goes on, it says, people who make it part of their lives to shun evils as sins against God appear in heaven before the angels as beautiful human beings and partners and companions of the angels. All of this is just saying that the angels see things differently than we do. They see things differently. There's a great story in Divine Providence where Swedenborg's really pressing this point of how they see things differently. And he says, look, you should go out, imagine if you made a book, and you wrote a book about all the things that you worry about. You know, you're worrying about your health, you're worried about your money, your job, worried about what you eat or what you drink, the mundane things of life. You take everything you've ever worried about. You write yourself one great big 500-page long book. And he says, you know what the angels would write at the end of it? What their comment would be at the very end? He says, the angel will write at the end these few words. They are all appearances and fallacies. It's all appearances and fallacies. Everything you're worried about, meh, they're unimpressed. They are unimpressed. Things look differently to them. And it's worth really letting that sink down on us. Because, last few weeks, I've had plenty of people saying, oh, have you heard about what's happening in Israel? Oh, have you heard about this? Well, have you heard about that? The angels say they're all appearances and fallacies. Everything that you're worried about. This is why that passage from Revelation is so important. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments. Right? Happy is he who's awake, is one way it's translated, and keeps his garments. So, interestingly, here's what the writings say about this. This is AR 706, the last reading of the day. These things are said for those who will be of the Lord's new church, that they may learn truths and remain in them. For without truths, they're connate evils, which is a fancy word for saying hereditary evils, so the stuff you're born with. For without truths, their hereditary evil, which are infernal loves, cannot be removed. A man may indeed live like a Christian without truths, but this only before people, not before angels. Right? You can put on a good show here, make it look like you're a decent person. You're not going to get away with that over there. So you might want to see this as a warning. You might want to see this as a warning. But you might also could see it as a happy reminder, right? Happy is the person who is awake and keeps their garments. Amen.